The Pelicans are the center of the trade universe, and I have 3 blockbuster deals that make sense for New Orleans. Plus, we also have 3 new trade rumors that you gotta hear. It's trade season in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans at NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, here with you on this Friday, and we are going to talk trades the entirety of the episode. I've got 3 trades that all pass the trade machine that are kind of blockbuster deals for New Orleans that I do think are all realistic, that could kind of change the complexion of this team this season, and more importantly, next season. We also have 3 trade rumors that have really come up over the past 24 hours. There's a lot of smoke behind some of these. We're going to break it all down in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join over 12,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. And also listen to us, or watch us, I should say, on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Same place you watch your Pelicans play every weekday, 10:30 a.m. If you're an everydayer, let me know in the comments down below. Grade the trades that I'm about to put out here in front of y'all in the comments down below. So one of the rumors that it's not one of the rumors that I want to jump into here. And one of the rumors I want to get into is the Chicago Bulls have had some talks with the New Orleans Pelicans around Zion Williamson. It sounds like those talks have cooled off and their interest remains more about Yves Missi right now. But hey, they called about Zion. And to be clear, it does not sound like Zion is going to be traded. The team is really putting out the vibe that they are keeping Zion Williamson. Couldn't tell you why. I think he's someone they should look at moving, and this era feels like it's really run its course, but that's kind of what they're saying here. But let's trade Zion to Chicago, and I have a deal that I think makes sense and works pretty well under the current salary cap for everything, and that is trading Zion Williamson and Kevon Looney to the Chicago Bulls for Nikola Vucevic and Patrick Williams. That's the trade. No picks, just those deals. So here's why I like this trade. And we're going to get into a trade rumor in each segment too. So it's 3 trades, 3 trade rumors. Vucevic is the kind of center you need to maybe put next to a guy like a Derik Queen. You need someone that can space the court. Vucevic can absolutely do that. He can provide some interior scoring as well. And he's a good enough rebounder. This is someone who this year is averaging 17 points per game. He's taking almost 5 3-pointers and shooting 37%. It's not an elite number, but it's pretty good. Last year, when he was outstanding for the Bulls, shot 40% from 3, giving you 9 rebounds per, giving you about 4 assists or so. This is a guy who remains a pretty good player. He's a middle-of-the-road defensive rebounder. He's not really a shot blocker or anything like that. And when you look at kind of the biggest issues around this team, you're not going to find one guy that fixes all of them. But if you can get shooting and rebounding from your center position, I'll take that even if it leaves some rim protection to be desired. That's why I like this trade. He's going to be a free agent. You have the rest of the season to kind of audition him, let him get comfortable here, and you can probably sign him to a not massively expensive deal. In fact, I would be looking to extend him immediately. I think he's going to have a decent amount of interest around the league, but given that now he's on your team, you have his bird rights, you can give him more money than other teams would be able to do, or it makes it a little bit easier if other teams are stuck with the mid-level exception. Gives you an advantage to re-signing him and bringing him back, and this is someone who would be content being your 4th or 5th option on offense. So I think he fits even at his advanced age. I did a fake trade for him last year, and a lot of y'all laughed at me, and then he played outstanding last year. He's not a negative on defense. I wouldn't say he's like an extreme positive, but he's not a negative. If you need someone to just pair with Derik Queen, I think he's the type of guy that could at least check that box. This is more about the Pelicans want to compete next year, not be patient. This is the type of player that I think can kind of help you. Patrick Williams is also an intriguing piece to me. I've talked about him before. He would be a very buy low candidate. He's been in and out of the rotation for the Chicago Bulls, and they've basically just soured on him. He's towards the end of the rotation when he does play for the most part now. His minutes have really gone down. He's not playing particularly great. 6.5 points per game, 3 rebounds. But he's hyper athletic, and that's what intrigues me about him, and he has potential to be a very good three-point shooter. This is someone that if you're looking for an Aaron Gordon kind of player, someone who needs to be more of a complimentary guy rather than a number one guy on a team like Aaron Gordon was, and y'all, the everydayers, have heard me say how important an Aaron Gordon type of player would be next to Zion Williamson, but also next to Derik Queen to cover up for their defensive deficiencies. Patrick Williams kind of fits that mold of that type of player. I don't think he'll be as good as Aaron Gordon. I'm not expecting anything like that, but at least you can take a flyer on him. The Bulls probably want out of his contract. I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him to see if just a different role, different change of scenery would really help. $18 million per year going forward on his deal isn't the worst thing that you could see. And this is someone who, for his career, is shooting 39% from three on over 3 attempts per game. Those are some Aaron Gordon kind of numbers. Let him rebound, let him play defense, and don't ask him to do much more than that, and see if he can be that kind of complimentary type of guy. I think he could be. He's a decent enough rebounder. You know, defensively, he has not been there for the Chicago Bulls, but the Bulls are a disaster, so I don't know if you want to read too much into that. I think a change of scenery for Patrick Williams, who's the former 4th overall pick, would make a lot of sense. So bring in your next starting center, pair him with Derik Queen, and go from there. Your lineup would be something along the lines of Jeremiah Fears, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Derik Queen, and Vucevic, with Patrick Williams coming off the bench and the rest of the roster. I'm intrigued by that because I think Vucevic is the type of archetype that you want to put next to a Derik Queen. Would that team be great? No, probably not, but they're better now. And look, maybe in 2 years, you kind of take off with them. It's a way to also be patient, and you wouldn't need to give up draft assets for anything here too. So that's my Chicago Bulls trade that actually, truthfully, I kind of like. Grade it for me in the comments down below, or just give it a pass, fail, or if you like it or don't like it. All right, the trade rumor that I want to get into here is we've heard a lot about Yves Missi, and now it sounds like the Pelicans, and this is per Jake Fisher and Mark Stein in their Substack, Missi to the Pacers in exchange for Benedict Mathurin. Kind of what it sounds like, potentially just a straight up swap, even though I think there would be some salary from New Orleans also having to go to Indiana for this deal. I don't like this. I don't think Benedict Mathurin is good. He's not. He's not a particularly impactful player. If you just look at his points per game, you're going to be blinded by that. 17.8 points per game. Dude's a bucket, right? Not really. This team doesn't need a bucket. He doesn't pass the ball. He doesn't defend. He's not a good shooter either. He's a career 34.6% shooter from three. Everything about his skill set is not at all what this team needs. The bigger problem is he is going to be a restricted free agent going into this season. You might need to pay him $20 million a year, $15 to $20 million a year. I have no interest in doing that for Benedict Mathurin while this team still has Jordan Poole on the team. He's maybe a younger Jordan Poole. That's not what you need. That doesn't address anything or fix anything while also still needing to pay the guy. That's kind of my deal with this one. Missi is still on his rookie contract. The Pelicans' books, their salary cap in the future is not particularly encouraging or great. Why would you add more potentially bad long-term salary? You're going to have Fears and Queen kind of be the guys you want to build around. You don't want bad contracts on your books if you can avoid that. And this just seems like a dumb, short-sighted move because they fell in love with someone who can score. But when you get below the surface with Mathurin, this is someone who sees his minutes drop in the playoffs because Rick Carlisle, who's a top 5 NBA coach of all time, potentially, has no interest in playing him because he's not going to help you win. Guy that gets in and out of the lineup in his 4th year is not someone that I'm particularly interested in paying a lot of money long term when I want to keep the books clean so that the team can kind of just grow at their own pace here. And so that to me is arguably why I hate this trade more so than anything else with the team. He just isn't particularly good. It's not bad, but he's not good. And I don't want to pay someone who's not good. Simple as that. What do you think about the Missi rumor with Benedict Mathurin? Let me know in the comments down below. Coming up next, can I interest you in Karl-Anthony Towns on New Orleans? Let's get a little bit weird. I got a 3-team deal. The next 2 trades are 3-team deals. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Game Time. During basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building. Look, it's still fun. The energy, the crowd, that first big run that gets everyone on their feet, even if it's a 13-0 run for the opponent. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. So that's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets fast, simple, and without the guesswork. So browsing the Game Time app is straightforward and intuitive, and finding tickets takes just a few taps. Seeing the view from your seat before buying makes choosing tickets easy and confident, and prices include fees up front, so the total is clear from the start. And features like zone deals help unlock great seats at even better value. So whether it's an NBA game or another live event, everything is right there in one place. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off with Game Time. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the #1 sports podcast network. And if you're about that everydayer life, check out the new Everydayer Club. You're going to get access to ad-free audio for Locked On Pelicans. No ads. Compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, every other major podcast app. Just makes listening to it quicker as well. You're going to also get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of the show. You can find the link in the show notes down below. Okay, let's keep looking at trades for this team. So I want to make a big splash here. I'm kind of keeping the Pelicans' mindset in this of like, they don't seem to want to be patient. Disagree with that. Talked about it in yesterday's show for the everydayers, but okay, whatever. Let's kind of keep going along with that here. Here's a 3-team deal that I have. So the Pelicans get Karl-Anthony Towns from the New York Knicks. The Memphis Grizzlies get Zion Williamson, and the Knicks get Ja Morant, Kevon Looney, and Jose Alvarado. You may need to put some picks in there in some capacity. Maybe for the Grizzlies. I don't really know, actually. Maybe you don't. I'm kind of looking at this, and it kind of makes some sense here. I like this deal kind of for everyone other than maybe Memphis. I don't think they want to get rid of Ja Morant just to end up with Zion Williamson, who has his own issues here. But let's roll with it, and you can maybe toss them a pick that's lottery protected or something like that to get them to say yes to it. The Knicks need to make some changes, and Karl-Anthony Towns is, I think unfairly actually, being very scapegoated by that franchise. Media, people around, whatever it is. Let's call it all the Knicks, and that's all encompassing, actually the team and people outside of the team. I think they are, in a bit of a, not free fall, but not looking great at the moment. They lost 4 straight games. They've lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They've lost 9 of their last 12. That's not particularly good. They need to just kind of change the vibes there. I don't know, get Ja Morant, pair him with Jalen Brunson, and have a lot of fun with your guard rotation there. I think that, I don't think that really fixes them, but hey, why not? It shakes them up, I think. And it feels like they need him. They get Jose Alvarado too. They've been kind of coveting him for a while. They get Looney, who maybe is a playable big, not for New Orleans, but maybe there. Just it's a body, and he's also an expiring contract, so everyone kind of likes that here. The Pelicans get Karl-Anthony Towns. And while I'm not the biggest Towns fan, you know what he can do? He can shoot the 3, and he can rebound. Not going to give you defense, not going to give you rim protection, but you're not going to find a guy that does all of this. So if you can get some of your problems solved, shooting and rebounding, take it. You could pair him with Derik Queen, and while it's a soft front court, they're going to score a lot. You're going to space the court pretty well, you would imagine. Towns is a good defensive rebounder, so you're at least ending possessions all of a sudden when your opponent misses. I'll take it. At this point in time. That seems like the ideal big man that could be available to pair with Derik Queen. And so that works for me. Towns seems to kind of like get on people's nerves after a while, and I get it. He's also owed a lot of money, $53 million this year, $57 next year. The year after that, it's a player option in 27-28 for $61 million. So there's that. But look, if you're trying to be competitive, you add Towns to this team, it takes some of the burden off of Derik Queen. It spaces the court and opens up some driving lanes, maybe makes things a little bit easier for Jeremiah Fears. All of a sudden now you have some shooting. Your starting lineup being Jeremiah Fears, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Derik Queen, Karl-Anthony Towns. It's similar-ish to what we talked about with the Chicago Bulls for Vucevic, I think. I think you're going to need to include more compensation than just Zion, Looney, and Alvarado to make this happen. But hey, you got a chance to be able to do that. I don't love it. I think that team has a ceiling. You're also not going to really have much flexibility in the way that you're going to try and add to the team. I haven't popped this into my salary cap spreadsheet, but you're going to be in the tax next year, so it really limits a lot of your team building options to make that squad better. So you kind of have a ceiling that you're going to reach. If the Pelicans are just content to be a play-in tournament team, maybe at best fighting for sixth, here's your path. You'll do that for a couple of years. I feel pretty confident in that team's not going to be abysmal at the very least. So that's one way of going and making it happening. Do you like that one or no? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, so the trade rumor that I want to get into now is same thing. Mark Stein and Jake Fisher saying of the player, the Pelicans have untouchables here. No Herb, no Trey, fine with that. Fears Queen, obviously not. And then, of course, no Zion Williamson. But they are willing to discuss someone like Jordan Poole. Okay, couple things. They shouldn't just be willing to discuss Jordan Poole or listening to offers for Jordan Poole. They should be actively looking to move Jordan Poole, but whatever. To me, this is like, this is going to sound nuts, right? You got to roll with me on some weird logic here. This is a good sign. This is a good sign because it would be very easy for this front office that truthfully seems to have a lot of like pride and hubris to it, to be willing to admit a mistake on Jordan Poole. It didn't work out. This was a bad move. This was a mistake and not a trade that they should have made this offseason. I like Saddiq Bey, but this is not a move that they should have made. So the fact that they're willing to not double and triple down on this is somewhat encouraging. Being able to admit your mistakes and moving on from said mistakes is a good thing. That is an admirable quality. I'd like you not to make the mistakes in the first place. That part would be cooler to me. But we're doing what we can, I think, and taking what we can here. And that's kind of what you see in this scenario. He's not an untouchable, which you could see someone like Troy Weaver who clearly kind of like fought for Jordan Poole, wanted Jordan Poole, could be like, no, we're going to keep Jordan Poole and we're going to keep trying to make it work so that he feels more justified in the trade. I would hate that. That's not the type of attitude that you want your front office to take. So at least that they're willing to do this makes me feel slightly better. Admit mistakes, move forward by trading him away. I'm somewhat encouraged about that. Coming up next, I don't even need to ask you, do you want Poole gone or not? The Poole fans don't want him gone, or they probably do. Everyone probably just wants him gone at this point. Coming up next, let's look at the Washington Wizards entering the chat about what their interest in Zion Williamson is. It's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by FanDuel. You know what day it is? It's Friday, and Fridays feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited-time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. So Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern is appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour is going to always bring something new, boosts, bonuses, and surprises. So it's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. And the timing is perfect, right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join over 12,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well, and become an everydayer means you listen Monday through Friday to Locked On Pelicans. Make Locked On Saints your second listen today. Going a little quickly because short on time here. Third trade I want to look at here. Let's ship Zion Williamson to the Washington Wizards. We've heard there could be some interest on their part. I really struggle to see that even after their trade for Trae Young, but maybe they just really want to go for it. Trae Young and Zion Williamson actually sounds kind of fun in some capacity. So here's the deal. The Washington Wizards get Zion Williamson. The Memphis Grizzlies get Chris Middleton along with the Pelicans' lottery-protected draft pick. And Ja Morant goes to the Pelicans with a pick from the Wizards that's OKC's pick in this upcoming draft, so likely going to be like 25 or lower, worse. That's the deal. Pelicans get Ja Morant. They also get a pick in this upcoming draft. The Memphis Grizzlies get a lottery-protected pick from the Pelicans that could be, valuable, would have protections on it, could kick it down, who knows. But they would again get expiring salary because Chris Middleton's contract is expiring in this scenario. And the Wizards get Zion Williamson for not much. A crappy OKC pick, essentially. That's it. That's the deal. Pelicans get Ja Morant. That's someone we've heard they're interested in. Ideally you want to pair Ja Morant with Zion Williamson, but it's tough to really figure out some sort of trade where this works. This doesn't really work otherwise. Looking at the Wizards and Pelicans, you could trade Zion there and get Middleton back here and just kind of leave it at that. But if the Pelicans are trying to be competitive, just trading Zion for expiring salary and say a pick, while I would do that deal, is probably not something this front office is actually going to do. I don't think this makes this team better. You're maybe just doing this to get a pick in the upcoming draft, but it's not a particularly good pick. I don't know what this changes for the Pelicans overall. You still have kind of issues in the front court and everything. So this is not a move I would do. It's probably the weakest, I think, out of all of these. But if you're looking to just dump Zion Williamson, you can kind of find a way to work it with the Wizards in some capacity. Or if you want Ja Morant coming here, you would have a starting lineup of, it would be Ja Morant, Herb, Trae, Queen, and Missi. I don't know what that does for you. Don't particularly love that. You could, maybe put Fears in there if you want Queen at center, Trae at the 4, so you could go Ja, Fears, Herb, Trae, Queen. That's not going to win you many games. So I don't love this one. It's why I saved it for the end, but the Wizards supposedly want to get in the mix. If I would do Zion Williamson for Chris Middleton's expiring contract and a pick. Easily do that today. We'll see if the Wizards want to get into this. I don't know how realistic that is. Final trade rumor. And this also comes from, this came elsewhere. This came from Chris Haynes. Jose Alvarado, probably the most likely guy to move, I think, for this team. I've been saying this for a while, and it pains me to say with the game-worn signed jersey right there. But the New York Knicks have had a lot of interest in him for a while. The Pelicans have had a first-round pick on the table for him before. That was a couple of years ago, so I don't know if that's still the value. It feels like of all the players, he's going to be likely to get moved, I think. He's just a spark plug off the bench, and while we love him here in New Orleans, he's far more valuable to a competing team, a playoff team, than this Pelican squad that's just in the muck, essentially. So if you can get good value for him, as much as it pains me, I think they need to do that. I think they need to look at that for, the majority of guys on the roster, that if like the right trade is out there, the Godfather offer for any guy, whatever that is relative to his value, I think that's something that you really need to be able to kind of look at. So I definitely think that's why you'll see, I just got distracted by some things. That's why I think you'll eventually see him moved here. And that's going to hurt. That's definitely going to hurt. 2 weeks from when I'm recording this, which is Thursday, this is the Friday show, 2 weeks till the trade deadline. The Pelicans rumors are swirling, y'all. There's a lot of smoke behind Missi. I think they are actively looking to move him in some capacity. I don't love it. I wouldn't do it for Mathurin, but you could convince me of the right deal. We'll see what ends up happening. Teams that would be trying to trade, a team that's trying to trade Zion Williamson away and get max value would be like, yeah, we're going to hold on to him. Right? We'll see what ends up happening, if the Pelicans look the same or not, or if it's going to wait till the offseason for things to look dramatically different, or who the heck knows what it's going to be. So there you go. All right. Appreciate y'all listening. As always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. This is the Locked On Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be back with y'all on Monday or sooner if some breaking news happens. See y'all next time.